Leadbeater.
Thank you, Sir Roger. And it's a pleasure to speak in my first pre-recess debate.
Yay.
I've learnt a lot over the past year, and indeed the last 18 months since being elected. This time last year, I was still very much the new MP on the block. The Spectator were kind enough to name me as Newcomer of the Year, although, to be fair, in 2021 there weren't that many of us newbies to choose from, so I didn't get too carried away with this accolade. This year, though, by my reckoning, there have been 6 by-elections. Thankfully, none of them as toxic as the one that I went through. And with 1 Lib Dem, 1 Conservative and 4 new Labour MPs, I think we can say it's been a busy year and overall a very good year at the ballot box. It's been all change in many ways in 2022. One day last week, I found myself not only in the company of our new monarch, but also that of 4 Prime Ministers. 3 ex, 1 current, which was something of a surreal experience. Of course, change can be positive and negative, and I'm sure we'll all have our views in this place on the many changes we have seen this year. But I've worked hard to keep my promise to the people of Batley and Spen not to change, just because I now have 2 extra letters after my name. I'm a proud Yorkshire woman, and we're known for our straight talking. As such, I've always done my best to tell it how it is from the perspective of myself and my constituents. But I also always endeavour to do so with courtesy and respect and a willingness to listen to other points of view. As such, I was pleased to sit on the Online Safety Bill Committee this year, where you were in the chair, Sir Roger, where I listened carefully to the points of a wide range of people, points of view of a wide range of people and organisations. Not once, but twice, after the government presented it, got cold feet over it, sat on it and then recommitted it. Sadly, it is weaker now as a result, but it remains an important piece of legislation to protect children and indeed all internet users from harm. I would like to pay tribute to the many organisations who gave evidence to the committee, including Carnegie UK Trust, Hope Not Hate, the NSPCC Barnardo's and of course the Epilepsy Society, who worked so hard with my office and colleagues from across the House to secure the inclusion of Zach's law in the bill, to make the evil practice of epilepsy trolling illegal. My constituent Zach and his mum Claire from Hartshead in my constituency have been tireless in their campaigning, and I'm delighted that this Christmas their efforts have finally been rewarded. But if we are to be truly world-leading in this work, I believe we must include more powers within the bill to address the serious dangers the online world presents in relation to other content, which falls below the threshold for being illegal, but is seriously dangerous and potentially devastatingly harmful in relation to a range of subjects, including self-harm, suicide, radicalisation and extremism. This is content which can change lives, and it's content which can cost lives. Honourable members may remember the story of 6-year-old Bo from Robertstown in my constituency, who has shown incredible strength and courage this year in her fight against neuroblastoma. I was proud to bring her into Parliament with her mum Shirley earlier this year to join a cross-party roundtable to discuss the possibility of a UK-led vaccine trial for this particular childhood cancer. I hope that the Leader of the House might pass on my request to meet with the Health Secretary and the charity Solving Kids Cancer early in the new year to discuss this possibility. Levelling up was claimed to be a priority of the government this year, but after 3 Secretaries of State and countless delays to the Levelling Up Fund announcements, it doesn't feel like much progress has been made. I am, however, extremely grateful to the current Secretary of State, who honoured the commitment he made to me in this House to visit Batley, which he did last week, to see the enormous potential of our Levelling Up bid to transform and revitalise Batley Town Centre. I only wish I could secure funding for every town and village in my constituency, as I know that people in Heckmondwike, Cleckheaton, Birstall and the smaller villages I serve feel that government investment in our area is long overdue. I am, however, hoping for good news for Batley in the new year, and I hope the Leader can pass on my thanks to the Secretary of State for his time last week. Whilst I always try to remain positive, as I find myself in reflective mode, I think it's impossible to ignore the turmoil and chaos we have seen in Westminster this year. And as a fairly new member to this House, I've been shocked and disappointed by how much of an impact this has had on the business of government, as has been mentioned by my colleague from the Rhondda. And in the middle of it all are a British public who are already disengaged from politics, and to say the least, cynical about politicians. A British public, many of whom are now also really struggling in their own daily lives, particularly with their household budgets and access to vital health and social care. Unfortunately, it feels like a government that has become so preoccupied with its own internal issues, it has given up governing, when Britain needs strong, authoritative and decisive leadership more than ever. and it does nothing for the reputation of us all in this place. But despite this chaos, as always, it is inspirational to see the way people in communities up and down the UK just get on with things, pull together and keep the country going. And as such, I want to take this opportunity to reflect on all the amazing work that is done locally in towns and villages across the country, and offer my thanks to the individuals, community groups, voluntary organisations, charities, sports clubs and local businesses across Batley and Spen that keep our community together through challenging times and devote their time and service to others. Without you, our communities will be more fragmented and divided, people will be more isolated, and families and individuals struggling even more than they are now. Also at the heart of our communities are our emergency and public services, and I pay tribute to police, fire and ambulance workers across Batley and Spen and the whole country, along with the thousands of dedicated professionals working tirelessly to keep our NHS going under the most challenging of circumstances, and those working in education who I hope can have a well-earned break over the festive period. I'd also like to thank West Yorkshire Police, and in particular Chief Inspector Rebecca Calpin and Batley and Spen Neighbourhood Policing Team for all their hard work and support on cracking down on issues around road safety and antisocial behaviour that have a really enormous impact on the day-to-day lives of many of my constituents. This year we've also seen the shocking and devastating illegal war on Ukraine. Shortly after the invasion started, Anglico, a brilliant fire vehicle manufacturer in my constituency, stepped up and worked with the charity Fire Aid to donate and deliver 4 convoys of vehicles and equipment to support the Ukrainian effort. Vehicles and equipment from Batley have been used to tackle the fires and devastation, as well as help with the logistical challenges, such as collapsed bridges in Ukraine. And I would like to thank Alistair, Sarah and the team from Anglico, who have worked selflessly this year to offer as much help and assistance as they can to the ongoing effort. I also want to pay tribute to the fantastic team I have in my constituency office in Heckmondwike, who have shown such dedication and compassion dealing with over 2,000 cases ranging from cost of living pressures to poor housing, urgent immigration and passport cases and everything you can possibly imagine in between. I'd like to thank my local team, Sheikh, Sandra, Dave, Claire, Irfan and Tony for their unfailing hard work this year. I've always said that you are only as good as your team, and I really do feel that to be true in this job, and I'm sure we all agree. And along with Lance and Omar in my Westminster office, I feel confident that I am lucky enough to have one of the very best teams. Finally, Mr Speaker, I would like to discuss the towns and villages that make up the constituency of Batley and Spen. It is a diverse, vibrant, no-nonsense community, and like many places we have our differences, but when times are tough, we pull together. And I'm enormously proud to serve the constituency where I was born and have lived all my life. Therefore, I'm sure colleagues will understand how very sad and disappointed I am at the split of the Batley and Spen constituency by the Boundary Commission. The constituency has a special place, not just in the hearts of those of us who live and work there, but I believe many others around the country who have admired our resilience and strength in recent years. So on a personal level, it will be very upsetting for my family and I to see Batley and Spen disappear from the map as an entity. But I will endeavour to tackle whatever challenges 2023 brings with my usual energy and enthusiasm. So, Roger, I'd like to end by wishing yourself, Mr Speaker, the Deputy Speakers, all honourable and right honourable members, and the fantastic tireless staff and doorkeepers of this House, who we rely on all year round, a very Merry Christmas and a happy and healthy New Year.
Mark Francois.
Thank you, Mr Deputy Speaker. Before the House adjourns for Christmas, there are several important constituency issues